Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Last time around we had Operation Savage Guardian, Head to the Courtyard, Part 1. A title so long I literally couldn't fit it into the YouTube titles. Because YouTube titles only let you have 100 characters. That includes spaces, by the way. So, yeah, it couldn't work. So, it's the same on this video because this is Part 2. It'll just be Operation Savage Guardian Part 2. Anyway, not important. What is important is that Jolyne was going to get the disc containing Star Platinum to the Speedwagon Foundation, and in order to do that, she had to head to the courtyard in 20 minutes. However, she was attacked by a dude with a stand named Jumpin' Jack Spark, and she was assisted by one of Emporio's friends, Weather Forecast, who inexplicably is an ally, but he's cool. I like him. So yeah, so they had a whole thing with like anti-gravity, but Weather Forecast was using his weather stand basically in order to propel him and Jolyne along, and yeah, that's pretty much where we left it. So yeah. Like always, the reaction is down in the description and in the pinned comment for your viewing pleasure. So why don't we go ahead and jump right into this episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Here we go. It probably doesn't matter, but I'm gonna look back on what he said about the boat killer. I got so wrapped up in the fact that it was 69 times, like some kind of jagoff.
This is the same feeling as then. I feel it again after so long.
Okay, no, this is nothing important. Alrighty. Okay. 69 stab. Man, I was so ready to make a 28 stab wounds joke, and here he comes with 69. It's terrible. Terrible. I'm sorry I got way too excited about it. That's so terrible. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay. Yo, why is Stone Ocean the greatest part of all JoJo? This is awesome. Just everything about it, you know? Something, I don't know what it is about this, but it's just, it's so good. It's so cool. Man, even just down to, I love Weather Forecast. Like, he's cool. His power is cool. It's so much, yeah, like, it's different, you know? It's such an interesting thing, because, and I know we talked about this a bit last episode, but I do like when you can take a power that, you know, we've seen other, you know, franchises use this power, but there's something about JoJo's creativity with it that really works, you know? Like, for instance, yeah, we've all seen X-Men, we've all seen Storm, or somewhat, you know, that's a bit of a problem with the X-Men movies. Storm's not really featured that much. But like we've all seen, you know, Storm's powers to an extent in X-Men, but the difference between Storm and Weather Forecast is so interesting. It's like I like how you can be very creative. It's not just, you know, it's not just the standard sort of weather powers, you know, or excuse me. Or even, like, I don't know, like, what's another good one? Well, you know, I will say, this and My Hero Academia actually kind of have this in common, because that's also a thing on there. I mean, the whole thing with One for All and the stockpile strength, I like that it's not, you know, normal Superman strength or something. Like, the way they use it is interesting, but I will also say, like, animal quirks in My Hero Academia are always interesting. Like, they all take the Spider-Man approach instead of like, oh, tee-hee, ha-ha, here's a frog. Like, no, she's actually like that strong, you know? And JoJo does the same thing, you know? Or even like, you know, I will say, like, comparing this to stuff in My Hero Academia, I love, like, Bakugo's explosion quirk, but I love how different Deadly Queen is, Something like that, I don't know. I'd have to, like, really go back and look at a bunch of stands, But some of them, the creativity in terms of, what other powers are, like, I just like that. I like that. That's the thing, is the things to love about JoJo are really, really damn good. And when they're not, but we try to move past some of that stuff, But that's pretty much what I always say about JoJo. When JoJo's good, it's really damn good. And honestly, like, okay, if this quality keeps up in Part 6, it's going to be a major contender. And here's the thing, because Part 5 was also really damn good. So all Part 6 needs to do is stick the landing. Because Part 5 didn't really stick the landing for me, with everything with the Requiem Arrow and the epilogue, which I sort of give a pass to now. Like, now that I'm past it, I can look back and sort of be okay with it. But the Requiem Arrow I just never cared about. At least in terms of Golden Wind Requiem. Like, Chariot Requiem was cool. Golden Wind Requiem I just didn't like because there was no real fight, But if this can stick the landing, I may declare this the greatest part of JoJo, And that's really difficult. Because Battle Tendency is like God tier, Battle Tendency is so damn good. But I may have to put Stone Ocean up there. But we'll have to see. We're 11 episodes in. And we're getting an encounter between our main hero and our main villain, Which, like, that just makes, that I feel like just makes for an interesting dynamic of, like, okay, so what are we going to do for the rest of Part 6, Because, like, pretty much the past 3 parts have all waited, Like, it's not until the end that you get Jotaro versus Dio. It's not until the end that you get Josuke versus Kira. It's not till the end that you get Giorno versus Diavolo. And there's basically no encounters either. The slight exception is there is an encounter between Josuke and Kira in the middle of Part 4, but that's not Josuke versus Kira. It's Jotaro and Koichi versus Kira, for better or for worse. But Josuke only comes in at the end, and there's only just a brief encounter there. But this, I don't know, so it makes me curious, are we taking that route with Jolyne and Pucci, or are we not? I don't know. That could be really interesting. It's so cool. And even still, this is way earlier than Josuke encountering Kira in Part 4, And another difference is just that Jolyne is the actual main character, That's the problem with Part 4, is Josuke is not the main character. If he was, I would have loved Part 4 way more. But yeah, the fact that Jolyne is the actual main character, I mean, it's very reminiscent of Battle Tendency, It's very reminiscent of Part 2, where, you do get that encounter between Joseph and the Pillarmen, Joseph has a very brief fight with Wamu, and then they go off like, all right, in a month, in 33 days or whatever, you'll die. So we'll fight before then, So there's that encounter there, and then they go off knowing that eventually you will get Joseph versus AC/DC Joseph versus Wamu, and then eventually Joseph versus Cars, with other fights, along the way. Caesar versus Wamu, Lisa versus Cars, however short that was, But yeah, so it's like you get stuff like that, so it's just so interesting that, yeah, honestly, this feels like Battle Tendency, and I love it so much. And honestly, just down to Jolyne, even though Jolyne is not as, and I don't remember if I talked about this last episode, Jolyne is not as mischievous as I thought she would be. Like, Joseph and Josuke are, they're scoundrels, Jolyne does take a lot after Jotaro, but I don't know, like, she takes after Jotaro, yet also feels, I don't know how to describe this, she feels kind of like the gang in part 5, Like, if Giorno was as ridiculous as Mista, Narancia, Abacchio, then this is kind of what we would get, is Jolyne, But she's not really mischievous, but she has her ridiculous moments. For example, she had to take a piss, which I could see Joseph saying that, I could see Joseph being like, well, suddenly I need to go number 1, And then that would be, I could see him saying that, and then like Caesar berating him, and then, but still explaining like, oh, well, this is the reason why this is happening, JoJo, So I can kind of see that, but that was really funny. That, yeah, it makes sense that because they were in zero gravity, that, yeah, they have to take a piss, So that was interesting. But then, having that then go with, because the entire room was anti-gravity, that created a vacuum, thus in also sucking in all of their blood, But then, again, another cool thing with Weather Report, or Weather Forecast, or whatever the fuck you want to call him, he made air suits. That's so cool. He made them air space suits. That's so cool, Which, honestly, I mentioned this briefly in the reaction last episode, where like, oh, he was like controlling the atmosphere around him as like a shield, basically. And I sort of offhandedly mentioned like, oh, that's kind of like Wamu. Honestly, it is like Wamu, because that's another thing that Wamu did. He would have his, air shields or air suit, so, he could refract, light away from him, and he could go out in the day, with concentration, with keeping up this suit, but he could do that, So honestly, yeah, it's like, it's an interesting thing, because we've also, this isn't the first air stand we've had, because we had Stray Cat. Stray Cat really didn't do too much. Like, he shot the air bullets, which was an interesting thing. It distinguished him from Wamu. But even this feels different from Wamu, It would be great, though. He does have 2 little horns on his head. It would be so cool. It would make no sense, but it would be so cool if they brought back, Wamu's atmospheric rift, But I'm sure that's something only Wamu could do. And even then, Wamu really couldn't do that. Like, it destroyed his body. Even Cars was like, no, you shouldn't be doing this, So, but just the callbacks is so cool, And then, speaking of callbacks, Rocket Punch! I love that. I have thought for a while, like, couldn't Stone Ocean unravel part of her arm and send her fist flying, which is what Bucciarati used to do with Zipperman. And sure enough, it took 11 episodes, but they figured that out. Man, Stone Free is so cool. Stone Free is so cool. I love it. I'm so happy. I want this to like go on forever now, because it's like, oh, I finally found good JoJo's Bizarre Adventure again, Which is weird, because I generally really loved Part 5, but there's something about Stone Ocean that I'm just so enjoying, you know? I don't know how to describe it. Maybe because it is also a goofier plot, you know? The fact that it's more like Part 2, whereas Part 5 was a much better version of Part 3, basically, you know? So, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but I'm really enjoying Part 6, so... and then we had, that was an interesting, man, again, so, another thing is, Jolyne somehow, I don't even know when she did this, but Jolyne put her threads inside of the case of, nuts and bolts, basically, that, the guy was using, and then when he shot all of that at her, the thread, clung, preventing her from being shot, stopping just shy of being shot, but also allowed her to yank him in. That's kind of one of the other things I really love, which I mentioned during the FF fight, is now we know she can manipulate her string when it's away from her, which I guess we knew from the beginning because she did that to her lawyer. That's how she killed her lawyer, but it's so cool. It's honestly, it's honestly, this and Shining Diamond are like my top favorite stands now, and then just under Stone Free I think is Hermit Purple. And man, if you could just somehow combine the divination powers of Hermit Purple with the advancement of Stone Free, it'd be so great. But she dragged him in, and he starts to boil, and then eventually, he had to just release the anti-gravity. But that meant all the air came collapsing back in, which meant it dragged him right over to her, right where she can beat the shit out of him. Oh, that was so good. That was so good. And then, an encounter between our hero and villain, which is crazy. Which, the thing is, he knows her. She does not know who he is. She was expecting a guard. She does not know that he's Pale Snake. So, there's some issues there. But yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I just absolutely love Part 6. I'm so happy. Anyway. But yeah, where are we going to go from here? What is this encounter going to be like? We'll find out next time. I'm wondering what Hermes and FF are doing during all of this. I guess they're just, chilling out somewhere. I don't know. It's an interesting thing that Jolyne didn't bring the two of them to help, but oh well. It's okay. We've got weather forecasts. So, but yeah, that is basically it. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist for all of my JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reactions, as well as another video you can go click on if you want. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.